What on earth is going wrong with Chelsea at the moment? We are so flat, so uninspiring, so devoid of any ideas. And we do need to be really careful because Tottenham and Arsenal are both playing far better than us and they are on our case. I think we're going to be fine, but top three, not necessarily top four, top three is definitely now in jeopardy. I cannot believe that we have got into a situation where we're looking over our shoulder. We are supposed to be aspirational, we're supposed to be aiming up. We're now preoccupied with how Arsenal and West Ham are going to get on. Desperate for West Ham to take something off Arsenal for our own benefit. What on earth is going wrong? At some point, we need to ask a question about Thomas Tuchel. I adore Tuchel. I think he's brilliant. I think he's been so good, so consistent and so brilliant for Chelsea. He's conducted himself admirably throughout and Chelsea have been so lucky to have him. But at what point do we need to explore what is going wrong and does the buck stop with the manager? Our performances are abjectly poor. They are so shoddy and we are constantly making individual mistake after individual mistake. There has to be tactical. We have to be asking players to do things that they aren't happy to do. Think about the chance that Edouard Mendy gave away, the goal that Edouard Mendy gave away against Real Madrid. That happened because of our insistence on playing out from the back. If you don't have the personnel to play out from the back, don't play out from the back. Thomas Tuchel needs to sort this out because what is unacceptable, regardless of conditioning, regardless of what's going on around the club, regardless of where Chelsea are situated at the moment, what is unacceptable is conceding 4 goals at home twice in a row against Brentford and then against Arsenal. That is totally and utterly unacceptable regardless of what's going on, regardless of what Thomas Tuchel has to deal with. It is not okay to be absolutely battered by Arsenal and Brentford in consecutive league games. Totally and utterly unacceptable and it needs to stop. Think about how bad we were today. Everton have completely bossed us and yes, they deserve a lot of credit. They deserve an awful lot of credit. They rode their luck at times. But Chelsea should be winning that game. We went to Old Trafford to play one of the worst Manchester United teams that you will ever see. We went to Manchester United to play a team that is as poor as Manchester United have looked since 1974 when they got relegated. And yet again, what happens? Game finishes 1-1. We are poor. We're shoddy. We are just not playing well enough. And I tell you what, this is a bold statement, but hear me out. I was discussing it just now on the kickoff with True Geordie, and it really did resonate with me. Let's pretend we lived in a world where sanctions and everything that has gone on in football and at Chelsea and in the world hadn't happened. This performance from Thomas Tuchel would have resulted in him being sacked. I guarantee you that. Thomas Tuchel needs to be absolutely delighted that Roman Abramovich isn't calling the shots at Chelsea anymore, because if he was, he would be sacked at the end of the season, regardless of what happens with the FA Cup. The Geordie and I were debating this, and initially I was very defensive towards Thomas Tuchel, but at some point we have to face facts. This isn't okay. And I appreciate that Thomas Tuchel does not have a particularly good team. I appreciate that our transfers have been underwhelming and we have constantly been getting it wrong in regard to recruitment. But we're better than Everton, and we're better than Manchester United, and we're better than Brentford, and we are better than that Arsenal team, because that Arsenal team had just lost 3 games in a row to really beatable opposition. Palace beat them, Southampton beat them, Brighton beat them, they whacked Chelsea up. Tuchel needs to be asked a question about that. Tuchel needs to come up with an answer to that problem. I appreciate that the recruitment hasn't been good enough, and I appreciate that there is a lot going on. But today is completely and utterly unacceptable. Today is completely and utterly unacceptable because we have now got into a situation where our Champions League hope, our Champions League aspiration is slightly in jeopardy. There is a slight issue with regard to Chelsea's Champions League status. Don't get me wrong, I think that we're going to do it. We're not going to not qualify for the Champions League. I think we need 6 points out of 2 games, which we can do, but we have to play Leeds, who after today are going to be fighting for their life. Wolves never easy, and we've got the FA Cup to come. I'm worried about that, and basically we're making everything look like hard work at the moment. If you aren't beating Manchester United at the moment, you're in trouble. If you aren't beating Everton at the moment, you're in trouble. If you aren't beating that Arsenal team at the moment, you are in trouble. And Brentford, I mean, come on. Conceding 4 at home to Brentford, obviously completely unacceptable. And today should have been a win for Chelsea. And I appreciate that Everton needed it. I appreciate that Everton were fighting, and it was a massive, massive statement win for that club. They have managed to keep their own destiny in their own hands, which I mean, that's all you can hope for at this stage of the season. 4 games to go, that's all you can hope for. Everton are now in a very privileged situation. If they win every game between now and the end of the league, they will survive. It wasn't like that before. They are now relying, or everyone else is relying on someone doing them a favour. Everton are now favourites to survive. They have difficult fixtures, but they have it in their own hands, which is massive. Burnley will be heartbroken with what they witnessed tonight. Leeds, no sympathy from me, but Leeds will be also heartbroken. In fact, Leeds being dragged into it, when you think about the history between Leeds United and Frank Lampard, that does add another element to this already compelling struggle. So there is an awful lot going on. But how Chelsea haven't won the game today, it's just not okay. It's not okay, and questions need to be asked. You know, Jordan Pickford had the game of his life. Fine. But we should still be too powerful. And they put in a massive fight. But the reason Chelsea lost the game is because we conceded a stupid goal off the back of half-time. We weren't switched on. We were naive. And yet again, we gave a goal away off the back of nothing. Cesar Azpilicueta, been a great servant for Chelsea, but he's done at this level. He is done at this level. How many times are we going to see him be outdone before we actually acknowledge that he is finished at this level? Gifted a goal. Was lucky, in fact, that the goal went in on some level, because he would have been red carded and they would have had a penalty. Because he ended up, I think he pulled Damari Gray down. Richarlison steered it into what was practically an empty net. It's just ridiculous, but we're just not ruthless enough. And again, this comes down to recruitment. Of course, we're not ruthless enough because we don't have the archetypal centre forward, because Romelu Lukaku sold us down the river. But if we aren't ruthless, if we don't take our chances, Kovacic should have scored. Mount hit both posts. Christian Pulisic can't shoot with his left foot, and if he did shoot with his left foot, he would have scored. But we have so many players that just aren't up to the job, and it is getting desperate. It is getting so desperate. Pulisic, not good enough. Ziyech, really struggling to find form. Romelu Lukaku should not have the opportunity to ever play for Chelsea again. Doesn't matter what happens, he should not have the opportunity to play. But the lack of steel in this Chelsea team is really worrying. We have an incredibly soft, dainty, pathetic underbelly, and going into the form that we are in, with a cup final on the horizon, is problematic. We miss chance after chance after chance. And when you think about how many chances we missed against Everton, when you think about how many chances we missed against Manchester United in the week, this cup final is so worrying. It's so worrying. Stupid individual mistakes costing us. We need to refresh this squad big time. It's the worst Everton team that you have seen for 3 decades. And they've taken 4 points off us. The worst Everton team that you've seen for 3 decades have taken 4 points off Chelsea, who are the European champions. It's a bold statement, and I say it with love, but we need to start asking serious questions about Thomas Tuchel here. He needs to step up. He needs to answer these questions, because Chelsea are not performing. The cup final is looking desperate, and our top 4 status isn't even guaranteed. Heartbreaker. Absolute heartbreaker. Not good enough, Blues.